All right, welcome everyone to the time management session. How's everyone doing today? Good, great. My name is Mona Friel-Brown, and I'm one of 2 learning skills specialists here at York University. My job here on campus is really to help students connect with their best selves, and we do this by offering you workshops to help you achieve academic success. So the topic today is very fitting. One of the key things that will help you really do well in university, because you can be the smartest student in the world, right? But if you can't organize yourself to feel prepared for a final exam, let's say, it can really affect your academic potential. So my tips for today will hopefully give you some assistance in the really busy weeks that you have right now, okay, in time for you to feel really prepared for your final exams. Okay. Time management is one of those core skills, but we also offer workshops in exam preparation, academic anxiety, reading and note-taking tips, all the way to presentation skills. All of these things, as I said, will help you achieve academic success. So hopefully you can keep on continuing attending our workshops. We do a lot of these outreach, but we also run a lot at Bennett Center for Student Services, where we're located. So please come by and check us out there. I gave everyone the November and December calendar. We're offering workshops pretty much on a daily basis, so feel free to come and attend if you can find the time in your busy schedules. But we also have a really hands-on website, lss.info.yorku.ca. And we're also on Twitter, and we have a lot of academic success resources that we give as tips in Twitter, and also just on our website, lots of resources that we'll be touching on today. Okay. All right, I also have the Passport to Success pamphlet with me. All of you should have this already. If not, you can pick one up on your way out. The Passport to Success program is just for students who attend our workshops. If you attend 8 workshops throughout your years here at York University, you will be able to attain the Passport to Success certificate, and that just looks great if you're building an academic portfolio, if you're thinking about going into graduate school or professional programs like Teachers College and whatnot in the future. It just shows that you're involved on campus outside of your classroom. Okay. All right, so without further ado, let's get started and talk about what time management really at first is not, what time management is not about. Okay, because there's a lot of misconceptions about time management, and so much misconceptions that most students kind of avoid to try to do to-do lists and organize their tasks. So we'll start off by kind of demystifying what time management is really not about. So first and foremost, time management, if you tried this in the past and it hasn't worked, you know, it's not really about for you to really schedule every hour of your day. Okay, and if you found that you've done that in the past, it may have not worked. You may have not, been able to continue finishing up your to-do list because you've kind of overscheduled yourself. Okay, it's also not supposed to get you to fill every second of your day with productive activity. Okay, society has, gotten us to think about being busy all the time and, the glorification of busyness. And I'm all about balance, and that's something that we talk about all the time in learning skills. You need balance, you need downtime with busy times as well, okay? Because you need to give yourself a chance to kind of take a deep breath and to relax, right? To let your brain, regenerate itself and to allow you to really take in the information that you've been working so hard to try to remember. Okay, so the goal is really not to be busy all the time. It's all about balance, and I'll talk a lot about that in this session today. Time management is supposed to also not turn you into someone that you're not, okay? We're not perfect students, right? That gets everything done in 1 hour. I've never met that student yet. Okay, so if you have been managing your to-do list to kind of get things done in a shorter time frame, or if you're telling yourself you're going to finish reading a chapter in an hour when really it takes you 3 hours, right? It's something for you to really think about, and that's not what time management is about. And maybe you haven't been able to successfully, finish a to-do list because you are trying to turn yourself into someone that you're not. Also, time management is not supposed to make you stressed or anxious. It should be quite the opposite. okay? If you're more organized and you are more aware of things that you are doing for the week or for the weeks ahead, it should decrease your stress and anxiety levels. It's not going to take away the fact that you are busy, but it will give you a plan, okay, that will help you feel a little bit more in control with your studies. And that's what time management is really all about, okay? Time management is supposed to really help you set goals that work for you, and creating a workable plan that'll get you there. It's being realistic with who you are and playing with your strengths. It's also dealing with reality. You know, how many of you work part-time? Okay, how many of you volunteer? Okay, how many of you have group meetings on top of your classes? Okay, so it's really dealing with your reality as a student, as maybe a mom or a dad, if you have dependents at home, if you have family members that you need to support, okay? All of that stuff has to be taken into consideration when you're trying to manage your time, if you want to be successful with time management. As I said, time management is really supposed to help you balance and find energy in your life, because until you have energy, you really won't be able to do all the work that you need to do for your exams in December, okay? So balance is key, and I'll teach you how to find that throughout this workshop today. At the end of the day, it should really help you decrease your anxiety and stress, and it should help you make yourself feel better, right? Because once you are starting to get things done on your to-do list, you start to feel good, and you start to realize that you can actually get the next thing done on your list, okay? So when you're checking things off, even if it's just you bringing a library book back at the Scott Library, it's you feeling like you've gotten something done on your list, okay? And it can help you, propel you to do more things throughout the day. The main definition of time management is the skill of making smart decisions about how to allocate your time and energy to goals that you value and have clearly identified for yourself. And that's something that I want you to think about throughout this session today. But as I said to you, all the time in the world won't help you if you don't have the energy, right, to get things done. So what have some of you done in the past to really get the energy that you need to get things done for the day? What gets you revved up? Some might say a deadline, right? Like a looming deadline. What are other things that may help you get energized to get things done? Want to just, yes?
Good sleep.
Good sleep. And I'm with you on that, because I have 2 young children at home that affect me to not have the best sleep on some nights, right? So on the days that I don't get the best sleep or it's broken up, I know for a fact that I probably can't be as productive as I would like. So it's time to take a look at the to-do list and kind of scale things back a little bit, okay? So sleep is one. What else? What are other things that you guys need to do to help you feel like you can get through with your day? What's a favorite beverage for a lot of university students? Coffee. How many of you are coffee drinkers and need coffee to wake yourselves up? Okay, that or Coke or, tea for some of you. Whatever it is, a good bevy sometimes, or doing your work at Starbucks or at Second Cup on campus can really help you to kind of wake yourself up and get yourself going, okay? Other students say that they need to work out, and go to the gym or go for a quick run. And sometimes that fresh air, just you going for a walk, can really help wake you up. And if you had writer's block, an hour before your run or your walk, it all of a sudden could get cleared up, or you may get some ideas as you're outside and you take yourself away from your desk. I can't tell you enough how much that's helped me when I'm trying to develop a curriculum, or if I'm putting together a new presentation. Sometimes I just need to get myself out of my office, get fresh air, and just go for a quick walk to really get energized, to get those ideas flowing, okay? So those are the things that I want you to think about, okay? So sleep is very important, and then caffeine if you need that extra jolt in the afternoon, and anything else that will help you to get yourself energized, I want you to try and incorporate that. Don't try to take something away, like sleep or exercising, if that's really something that's important for you to get your energy, okay? We all have had those, late nights, right, to try to get things done. But what happens if you've had a late night and you have an 8 a.m., 8:30 class the next day? What's your brain like the next day?
I'll give you a story.
Yeah?
If you have a night shift, and these are students working during the night,
Right.
and one guy says, he's up in class.
Sleeping in class, right?
I see there in purpose to get grades, not to sleep.
That's it. So you're not as engaged in your studies the next morning, right? So you might not be as productive. Or if you skip out on your run in the afternoon might be, not as productive because you haven't had much fresh air. So it's really important for you to incorporate all of that if it's important to you, okay? Also, the biggest thing about time management and why some students can't manage their time well is because they're not aware of where their time goes. So this is a big component that I'm going to be talking about in this session today. It's really important for you to start to think about where your day goes. Okay, if you want to do better in these next couple of weeks, this is the first step to get you really into planning mode. So let's start off by thinking about how many hours we have, in a day. We all know there's 24 hours in a day. In the course of a week, there's 168 hours. And in a semester, from September to December, in 12 weeks, there's 2,016 hours in a whole semester. Now, that seems like a lot, right? But let's start to break down these hours, okay? Let's start to just think about how much you spend on some of these tasks. We'll have a quick discussion. I already know that some of you guys like to sleep. I hope that's still important in your lives. How many hours is good for you to feel refreshed in the morning? 8? Okay, 8. Does someone need longer than 8 hours? That's great. And so you're able to get 8 hours? I envy all of you, okay? That 6 hours for me, if I can get that at night because of my kids, is triumphant, okay? How many of you sleep less than 8 hours? Okay, for those of you that put your hand up, how many hours do you sleep?
Probably 6 or 7.
6 or 7, and is that good for you?
No.
Okay, you'd like to get more. Okay, anyone sleep less than 6 hours on some nights? Okay, that's really good that no one's put their hand up. All right, it's really important, as I said, to get sleep because you need that in order for you to be focused for the next day. They say minimum of 6 hours. Okay, they said when Bill Clinton was in office, when he was the president, he had 4 hours of sleep every night, and he, managed to run the country quite well, but he had a lot of people to help him out, right? Some people can sleep less, but really the goal is minimum 6 hours each night. And you guys know your limits, so if 8 hours is what you really need, try to achieve that and really dial things back an hour before you should be going to bed so that you can fall asleep a lot faster, okay? Commuting. We're a big commuter campus. How many of you guys commute to get to York University, just by show of hands? All right, what's your commute like to get here? Yes. Sorry, I know you just took a big bite of your lunch. We can skip you.
I'd say going there and back would be an hour.
So an hour in total
Yeah.
for the day? Okay, so you're one of the fortunate ones who actually have a shorter commute time, believe it or not. Does someone have a longer commute time than 1 hour? Yes.
Mine's a little bit longer, probably an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
Combined, so it's not that bad.
Okay. Does anyone trump an hour and a half combined hours to 3 hours? And that's significant, right? And you're not unusual either. Some students have an hour and a half commute each way to campus, and that's just a normal thing, right? Let's not even throw snow into the factor as well. So it's something that you want to think about. And for those of you that are commuting those many hours in your day, you might want to maximize that time if you're not driving yourself, right? So if you're sitting on the GO bus, or if you're sitting on the GO train or the subway, are you able to maybe skim through your readings a little bit or look at your lecture notes to kind of reflect on what was covered in class or to pick out the themes that you might want to address in summarizing the article for your, your seminar class, let's say, okay? So you can maximize your commute time if you have the ability to do that. Attending class. How many of you are full-time students here on campus? just by show of hands. Okay, so we have a few, and some of you are part-time students as well? Okay, so that's something that you need to think about as well, okay? Now, on average, when we ask York University students how much they spend doing some of the following tasks, it was shocking what we got, okay? Most students, like you, like their sleep, so they sleep about 56 hours each week. In terms of personal care, York University students like to really take care of themselves and look good when they get to campus, so they take time to get ready, right? So it's about an hour each day. And then the commute times usually is about an hour and a half on average for students. And then let's not forget the most important thing, getting food, right? Whether or not you're prepping your meals if you're living on your own, yes?
Also, eating well, and that's not eating like veggies,
That's it.
because you can't do a productive good macaroni and cheese.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you feel like you want to take a nap after a heavy meal like that, right? So balance once again comes into play, right? So eating good balanced food, you might need to prep it yourself then as a result, and you got to take that into consideration. Okay, so on average, York University spend about 87.5 hours of your 168 hours that you have for the week just doing those 4 things. What's missing here? Studying, right? What else? Exercising, going to class, right? None of that will help you get your degree, right? So you're missing going to class and doing your schoolwork. So if 87.5 hours of your week has been filled up just doing these things, then no wonder why your to-do list never gets done, right? You need to start getting your head wrapped around how your day really goes. And that will really assist you in managing your time, okay? So when you look at your schedule, especially at the start of the semester, right, and you take a look and you see that you don't really have a heavy day on Monday, and Fridays you have off, let's say, right, it seems really deceiving, right? It seems like you have a really flexible schedule. But when you start filling that up with commute times, with your part-time jobs, or maybe for some of you full-time jobs if you're part-time students, the commuting, the prepping of your meals, and all of the group meetings and the studying associated with it, right? All of a sudden, this fills up really quickly. So for those of you that wonder, why can I never get things done? It's probably because you haven't really taken all of these things into consideration, okay? And they say that in terms of really achieving academic success, they say that for every hour of class that you have, you should allocate an hour and a half of study time to really, make sure that you're on top of your work on a weekly basis. Does that seem manageable to you? It's not asking for too much. Some professors even require students or recommend students to study longer, right? But we're saying on average, at least an hour and a half of independent study time for every hour of your class time, okay? Now, for those of you that are full-time students, you have about 15 hours of class time a week. Let's allocate an hour and a half of study time for each hour of that you're in class, and that all of a sudden equates to 37.5 hours. What is that, in essence? That's right, a full-time job. And I want you to think about that for a minute. And think about it in terms of this flexible schedule that you had at the start of the term, right? You have quite a bit to do in these next few weeks, and I'm sure you're here today because you want to do your very best, right? You want to achieve the best grades you can for your final exams. Here's a thought for you. For these next few weeks, promise yourself that you're going to stay on top of your work by doing the readings that you have to do for your class before you go to class, if you can, okay? Don't worry about last week's and the weeks before, because you're always going to feel like you're behind. Always aim to do the readings for this week's first, and then pick up the previous weeks when you have the time, okay? Then at least you'll go to class with some notes and a little bit of a background of what your professor is going to talk about, and I can tell you that it's going to be a different class experience for you, okay? So all of that obviously takes time, right? So you'll need to allocate an hour and a half for every hour of class time from now on. And that might mean you're working full time from Monday to Friday. And here's a thought for you. Instead of going to class or going to York just for your class at 10 o'clock, why not choose a shift that works for you from Monday to Friday? And it can be 8:30 to 4:30, 9 to 5, it could be 10 to 6, okay? Whatever shift works best with your circadian rhythms, you know what works best for you now, right? But you'll need to get yourself out of bed. You're not gonna get a paycheck at the end of 2 weeks out of this, right? But you know that this is gonna contribute to you attaining your degree so that you can get a really good paycheck in the future. So that should help you get yourself out of bed in these really cold mornings, okay? So get out of bed at the same time each week. It will be painful on Monday, but you'll start to get used to it on Tuesday and onwards. And if you come at the same time every day, when you don't have class as of yet, do some work. Maybe do some reading for this class and take some notes, okay? After this class, instead of going home, which a lot of students do, right, stay here. And they say that for students that stick around campus, you feel more engaged with your studies and you actually feel a sense of purpose. And all of that contributes to academic success. So that's really important for you to just really stay here on campus because it can get you into this studying mode. Whereas if you go home, you'll turn on the TV, you'll make something to eat with the promise that you're gonna do work, but then you may end up taking a nap, right? And then before you know it, it's 6 o'clock, something else is happening later on that evening, and then work doesn't get completed. So if you just stay here until a certain shift, when your shift ends, whether it's 8:30 to 4:30 shift, and you stay at the same time every day from Monday to Friday, you should get most of your schoolwork done during your shift. And that will allow you on evenings and weekends to do things for you. Other things that are important for you to fulfill, whether that's, earning money to go to school, connecting with your friends and family, right? All the stuff, working out, volunteering, all of that stuff can be fulfilled and you'll feel more balanced. So think about that, okay? Especially in these next couple of weeks when things are busy, you might find that you'll actually get more work done if you kind of focus on a Monday to Friday, daytime type of shift. That should allow you to not feel as stressed in time for your final exams, okay? Any questions about this at all? You may need to pull some overtime shifts, right, every so often, especially for those of you that may have a few things due in 1 week. But the goal is if you keep this going, throughout the semester, it shouldn't be you being reactive all the time and just focusing on what's due at that current moment. It should allow you to be more proactive and to feel more in control with your studies.
So sometimes I just feel behind the class because I can review the class on time. So what kind of efficient time for review my class?
So what's the most efficient time for you to review your class notes? They say that, within 24 hours after class has occurred, that's actually the prime time for you to review your notes and it won't take you as long. If you wait for many days, the cobweb starts to appear in your brain, right? Other things have come in your brain as a result. So think about it as almost like a recycling bin. It gets filled up, right? And then your brain will all of a sudden just dump everything and then you'll forget. So
once is enough or you have to do
you're constantly reviewing, and that's those little pockets of time in between classes. If you're sitting on the bus, just reviewing for a few minutes, 15 to 30 minutes each time, can really help cement the information, but the goal is to always understand first, memorize it later, okay? Because it's always so hard to memorize things that you don't understand. So that's why keeping up with your work on a weekly basis is key, because if you don't understand something, you need to get it clarified so that it can stick in your brain, okay? So you can simplify it, okay, for you to understand a lot better, and that will help with your memory retention. Okay. So really the key to success, the successful university students do, is really have a realistic strategy in place to manage their time. And now time is of the essence, right? You have a few weeks left of class before final exams. It could create some stress, but it's better for you to be proactive now and start thinking about what it is that you need to do to prep for your final exams. What chapters do you need to cover for your finals? What notes do you still need to do? What lecture notes are missing, okay? And it's kind of taking care of all of that administrative work so that when it's time for you to just remember the material, you've taken care of all of that already, okay? It won't take as much time. Also, spreading your work out across the term right from the beginning is key, okay? Don't beat yourself up if you're behind now, okay? It's not gonna help you manage your time well. As I said, focus on the now. What is it that you need to do for this week first, and then pick up from the previous weeks after that, okay? And just promise yourself from now on, you're gonna work really hard. And you know, these next few weeks, it'll matter, right? To help you propel yourself for finals. But you have to have balance. I don't want you to burn yourself out after these 2 weeks, that by the time final exams hit, you're gonna be too tired to really study. The goal is to try to really focus on your schoolwork, you know, certain points of the day when you're likely to really retain that information. And when you're tired, don't force yourself to study at that point, okay? Because you're just gonna be passively studying. So the goal is to really have balance so that when you are sitting down and watching TV, you're doing it guilt-free. It's guilt-free downtime, you're allowed to do that, okay? And I'll talk more about that shortly. Also start prioritizing, okay, and setting goals for yourself. And ask yourself, you know, are you the one that is really creating the goals for yourself? Are you setting those priorities, or is someone else doing it for you? Okay, so an example of this is, you know, are you in the right academic program, right? Because it's really hard to push yourself to do your work if you're not interested in your studies, right? So it's really important now to ask yourself, are you really in the driver's seat of your own life? Okay, so in thinking about this, I want you to think about what's important in your life. You know, what have you been spending a lot of your time in? And are there things that you are neglecting, right? Obviously, academics is really important to you, or else you wouldn't be here during your free time right now, right? So that's something that's obviously very important to you. But also personally, you know, have you been seeing much of your friends and family lately, right? If you haven't, how do you fix that? Or is this just, you know, one of those things just for a period, you won't see them as much just because you're busy at the moment, okay? Professionally, career-wise, what type of job would you like to attain? Does it fit with your academic pursuits at the moment? So it's really connecting with your academic advisor, talking to someone in the career center, and seeing if they all fit together, because it can really help you now to motivate yourself to get the work done. It all fits in your student development, okay? So what I'd like you to do now is to really think about what's important in your life, okay? I want you to just maybe list in the sheet that you have in front of you, just jot down roughly 3 things that are taking and that are important to you in your life, okay? I wanted you to do that first. So rank it in terms of your top priority. And let's just focus on 3 right now, right? Your 3 priority areas that are important to you. Once you've done that, I want you to then ask yourself, what are 3 things that are taking most of my time, okay? So first, rank your top 3 priority areas that are important to you, and then I want you to list 3 areas that have been taking your time, okay? And we'll have a discussion after this. Okay. So in terms of thinking about what you just listed, I won't get you to share because I know it's quite personal, right? But are you spending time on things that are really important to you is what I want you to think about. So I want you to look at your list and see if there's an imbalance there, right? Because if there are important areas that are important to you that you're neglecting because something else is taking quite a bit of your time, then it's time for you to kind of reshift your priorities a little bit, okay? So start thinking about how can you improve your use of time. So if exercising is something important to you and you've been neglecting that, right? And you're not feeling as energized as you would like, how can you incorporate that in your schedule, right? Because if you're studying all the time so much that you're neglecting other things that are important to you, eventually you're gonna start to resent school, right? So an example would be, on a Friday night, you decide to stay in because you've got way too much schoolwork to do, right? And you know that all your friends are going out and you have said, no, I'm not gonna do it. You guys go have fun, right? I'm gonna sit and do schoolwork. It's my mission tonight, right? So you're sitting at home, but you spent like many weeks studying, and you are a bit worried about upcoming exams. And you haven't really seen your friends all that much. What ends up happening on that Friday night when you're sitting at home, right? You may have your notes in front of you, you may be doing work, but you may also have Facebook open. You may be checking out what everyone's posting on Twitter and Instagram to see how their nights are going, and then you get sucked in, right? And you end up not really focusing on school so much, right? So it's really important for you to kind of, check in with yourself and ask yourself, are my lists, the lists that I put together, are things in balance? Are other things that are really important to me being neglected because I'm focusing on X, Y, Z so much, right? And if that's the case, what can you do to really improve your time and redirect your energy so that you feel like you're fulfilling all of the things that are important to you, okay? Because until then, you really won't be able to manage your time as well. Any questions so far? All right, so how can you really start translating what's important to you into really specific achievable goals? Well, SMART goals can assist you with that, okay? SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, right? They're relevant and time-based. So they're specific for yourself and to what it is that you're taking this semester. They're measurable. You can kind of see, maybe through your academic performance or how you do in a midterm or a final exam, if you are, fulfilling your goals. Attainable is really important. And we're notorious for this, of giving ourselves way too much stuff to do in one day or for the week, right? Create some goals that are realistic for you to achieve based on your life for that week. So I gave you a blank weekly schedule, okay? This is my parting gift for you because if you want to get started with time management plans, as I said, being aware of where your time goes is the first step. So after this workshop today, I want you to take some time and we're Wednesday today, right? I would like you to block out the times that you're busy from today all the way until next Tuesday. I don't need details. You don't need to give yourself the details. Just, shade it off, put X's, and the times that you're busy. When you have class, when you're working, right? When you may be commuting. All of that stuff needs to be taken into consideration. From there, then you'll get to see what's realistic in terms of how much time you have left to do for school, okay? Then you can really put together and set some goals that are attainable for you to achieve for that week, all right? It's relevant to your life, and obviously it's also time-based. So an example of this would be to complete my first draft of Section 1, my sociology term paper, by Tuesday at 6 p.m. That's pretty specific, okay? Now, Stephen Covey wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a good read for those of you that have the time. Maybe you can do this over the holidays if you want to kind of get yourself started for the new year, right? It's funny because my brother has this book, and my brother is the most notorious for procrastinating on his work all the time. He's very successful, but he procrastinates and he's always doing things last minute. So I always tease him when I see this book at his cottage just collecting dust in the corner. But Stephen Covey wrote this book and spoke about 4 quadrants that people tend to fit into, okay? Quadrant 1 are things that are urgent, but they're important, okay? So it's the paper that you have due tomorrow, right? you need to just attend to that paper because you still need to do quite a bit of that work, right? So as a result, everything else falls off your plan. You're not really doing any pre-work for your calculus test next week, and you're not doing the lab that you have to do tomorrow, okay? Quadrant 2 are things that are not urgent, but they're important to you, and they're attached to your personal goals, okay? They're not yet urgent, but they're necessary to help you attain your goals. And this is you planning, for example, for your final exams, okay? Quadrant 3, we might know this a little bit. They're urgent, but they're not important, right? An example of this is just a distraction that you may get. Your phone beeps while you're at the Scott Library studying, and it's your friend who needs your assistance to kind of give them advice about a love life situation, okay? It's important because you like that friend, you want to help that friend out, but it's not really attached to your personal goals. And then there's quadrant 4, which we really know too well, and it's just the time wasters, the things that suck you up, okay? So it's the necessary activity, the black holes that suck you in. Now, I'll give you a perfect example of this in my life right now, which has exploded to a quadrant 1 situation, okay? For many years in my car, I've had a chip on my windshield. Just a little chip that we got from driving the highway, and a little rock, created this chip, right? And it's something that I always thought, I gotta nip that. I really need to get that filled in. Every time I hear that Apple Auto Glass commercial on 680, I always think I need to make that appointment, right? Well, what happens? Years have passed, weeks and months have passed, and I still haven't attended to it, right? During the ice storm last winter, a tree landed on top of my car. Miraculously, didn't wreck it, but it added stress to this little chip that I had. It kind of blossomed a little bit. But it was still small, still the size of a loonie, right? And I thought to myself, I need to get that sorted out soon, right? What happened yesterday? During our first cold spell, as I was driving into work, that little chip, all of a sudden, just like that movie Frozen, because my daughter is so into it, it's playing nonstop in my house, it just exploded and it just turned into a spider web, right? So this is a prime example. I could have been in quadrant 2, right? That small chip, I could have dealt with it, and it actually would have been free for me to kind of take care of, right? But because I neglected it and I kind of let it brew, right, it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as a result, now I had to pay hundreds of dollars, right, outside of my insurance to take care of this windshield replacement now, as opposed to getting a chip fixed, right? And I had to take time from work, I had to drop other things that were important because I needed to bring it in the shop this morning, right? So that's an example of what Stephen Covey's talking about. And it fits very nicely with your time of year, right? Now you know in a few weeks' time you have final exams. You got things to do. You are really busy right now, so at the moment you're kind of focusing on what's due for the day, for the week, right? But if you start just living in that life and you're kind of thinking of putting out fires all the time, final exams all of a sudden get really big, right? The notes that you could have been kind of working on little by little each day, all of a sudden is a major task the week before your final exams, because you all of a sudden have 6 chapters that you need to read in time for your finals. So really the goal is now to try and spread things out and to really try to do things that are related to your goals for the week so that you're taking care of your future self. And that's key. And I can't speak so much of it, so much now than my experience that I had, over the last couple of days with my windshield. Okay, so it's really important to try to do activities that are preventative, that will, avoid you from stressing out so much during your final exams. It will really help reduce problems and decrease any crises later. Any questions? All right, so what can you use to help you achieve those goals? Well, I showed you this, which is a blank schedule, and this is the first start of you really achieving time awareness, okay? I also gave you a blank 4-month at a glance calendar, and this is something that's handy at the start of the semester, right? Because you'll be able to see your whole semester, all of your deadlines, all in one page. You know, some of you may have this maybe in a poster size on your wall, right? But this is something that's portable. You can print this out free from our website. I'll show you where to get that very shortly, okay? And you can also get a month version of this for November and December, since that's what we're focusing on right now, okay? From there, so that's, you know, kind of by term. From there, you can kind of plan for the week. So as I said, you know, the weekly schedule is key to just know when you're busy, and then create a to-do list for the week. You know, what is it that you need to do? What are your top priorities for this week to do for school? And then don't forget about the rest of your life. If you're part of a student club and you have an event that you have to run this week, you gotta make sure you incorporate that in your to-do list as well, okay? Because that will make things realistic for you. And then by day, you can put together a task list, keeping in mind how busy you are and how much time you have for yourself, you know, to achieve these tasks. So all of these resources are available on our website. And it looks like I need to just, let's see. All right, we're in business. Okay, so our website's lssinfo.yorku.ca, and I would recommend for all of you to check out this website because we have academic success resources that will assist you in your time management plans, in reading and note-taking, for you to, you know, learn how to take effective notes. We have a lot of handouts and worksheets for you in all of those topics to exam preparation as well. So the biggest thing that would probably be handy for you to do for this week is to come up with a to-do list. How many of you do this already? Okay. So putting together, yeah, sometimes it's a good thing, especially when you have a lot of things to do. And this is something that we work with, you know, during our one-on-one sessions with students. So we see students one-on-one to help them, you know, managing their time, to help them kind of break things down for future exams, and so on. And sometimes I work with students just to kind of get them to take all the running to-do lists that you have in your head and to have it on paper, okay? Because what happens when you have a constant to-do list happening in your head? You forget, right? It also increases stress and anxiety because you feel like you always have something to do, right? And it's also taking away quite a bit of your brain space. And you need to save that for all the important things, right? So part of stress management actually is to get things written down so then it can assist you in figuring out your plan of action, okay? So a to-do list can really help you out as well. At the start of the semester, we recommend students to break down all their courses and amalgamate their course outlines on one page, and this is what this is about. This is the first page of a time management package. So for all of the classes that you have, print out your course outlines. That's really key in time awareness strategies, okay? It will assist you in just knowing when you have to do things, how much it's worth, and when it's due. And that will help you in prioritizing all of your tasks. Remember that blank schedule that I got you to, you know, to think about? Here's an example of a student who actually filled out their schedule, right? This may seem overwhelming to some of you, so if this kind of turns you off from managing your time, I would just encourage you to just block out the times you know you're busy, okay? If you're a visual learner, this may help you in kind of, you know, organizing your day if you'd like, but if this stresses you out, just block out the times you know you're busy, and then you can put together a to-do list to get things done. That's realistic with the time that you have, okay? The to-do list is a really handy guide to get students kind of break down large tasks into smaller, more manageable ones. So I gave you an example of a sample to-do list for someone that has a short writing assignment to do from the beginning all the way to the end. So from the time that they get their assignment, hand it out to them in class, to the time that they hand it in, all of the steps are listed here, and that's quite a realistic to-do list, more so than work on paper, okay? So here's an example of that that I provided to you for your handout. So really providing quite, detailed tasks, even just talking to your professor, all of these things are good. And then if you want, for those of you that have day timers, you can then extract what's realistic for you to get done for the day. You can put that in your day timer then, okay? The biggest thing when you're starting to plan things out is to really give yourself buffer time. So if you know that it takes you about 2 hours or 3 hours even to do your chapter reading for psychology, tell yourself that it may take you 3.5 hours, just in case, right? Just in case that friend of yours texts you in the middle of your chapter and you take that break, okay? Because sometimes, things come your way and you can't prevent it from happening. Also, ensure you have free time and try to have that on a daily basis, because if you don't, you're gonna have guilty free time, right? When you're sitting down doing something you tell yourself you shouldn't be doing, but you're doing it anyway, and you're not really having that much fun as a result, okay? So when you know your brain is mush anyway, that's when you give yourself guilt-free downtime and work really hard and try to get most of your tasks done when you're most productive in the day, okay? Now, if something doesn't get done, don't sweat it, right? I always tell students to use pencil when they're managing their time because it's a forgiving task, right? It's flexible, you can erase it, move it on to the next day. If you're writing in red pen and you don't get something done, it's screaming right at you and it's not as forgiving, right? So I carry pencils with me all the time because that's what works best for me and it's flexible. And if something doesn't get done, don't sweat it. Ask yourself, okay, when can I get it done tomorrow? Or when is my next free time to get these tasks completed, okay? So I hope you've taken from this session today that time management is very personal. Don't manage your time to mirror that perfect student that you've imagined for yourself, okay? Make it realistic based on your strengths. You've been, getting to know yourself quite a bit this past, semester. Really focus on how long it takes you to get certain tasks done, and you're more likely to actually fulfill your time management plans, okay? Also, learn from your attempts. You'll soon figure out what works and what doesn't work, and incorporate that in your plans, okay? And from there, that is what's gonna really help you in managing your time. I really wish you all the best in these next busy weeks. Know that we are here for you. As I said, we run these workshops continuously in November and for the first week of December. So if you have the moment, feel free to attend a learning skills workshop. It's gonna help you achieve the passport to success a lot faster, but it'll also give you some really useful tips in time for your final exams. We will be assisting students with drop-in times, okay? We have that on a weekly basis at the Scott Library. Every Thursdays, except for tomorrow, we won't be able to assist you, but next Thursday onwards, every Thursdays, we're gonna be there at the Scott Library, 1:30 to 3:20. You don't have to make an appointment. You can just pop in. And if you need help breaking down a large task into smaller, more manageable ones, or to try to kind of find the time to get things done, that's when you come and see us at drop-in, okay? So second floor of the Learning Commons, you don't have to make an appointment, or if you want an hour one-on-one session, you can do that as well at Bennett Center for Student Services. We're located on the first floor in the Offices of Counseling and Disabilities, okay? I wish you all the best. Don't forget to pick up a sandwich on your way out, okay? And remember that we are here for you to assist you in your student success, okay? Take good care of yourselves and keep warm. It's really cold out there. Thanks. Thank you.